It's actually one of the best Fridays I've had in the championship this year. Often Friday's quite a struggle. You know, first session, bike doesn't feel great. It's not very well matched to the circuit. As the days go on, we improve the setup. By Sunday afternoon, we're somewhere where we should have been on Friday. That makes racing quite hard. Obviously, qualifying is difficult to get up the order when you're still working on setup and things like that. So quite a pleasant surprise to have such a good feeling with the bike on the Friday morning. So we've changed very little from Cadwell Park. In fact, I've even compromised a little bit on the gearing, and I'm running the same gearing as I ran in Cadwell. Not because I think that's the best gearing for this track, but kind of the gearing I would normally run here is sort of a little bit weak on initial pickup of the throttle in a few areas. So we're running the exact gearing we had at Cadwell, which means the bike sort of comes off the corners a little bit stronger. But then I'm a bit busier at Cascades, like the entry to Cascades. I've got to go up an extra gear at the top of the hill and then back an extra gear going down into Cascades corner, and that makes everything kind of a little bit compromised and rushed. But I think the trade-off might be better in favour of what we're trying to do. Getting off the corner is probably more critical than one area where I have to do a little more work. To the FHO VIP Hospitality Chat Show. Normally we start on a Saturday, so there's a lot more information for us to talk about, but a fair amount happens even on one lap, so I'm sure we'll be able to entertain you for a few minutes with some details. The general setup of the bike feels quite close. Obviously Cadwell and Oulton aren't that far dissimilar. A lot of elevation change, cambers of the turns and the load and braking forces here are very similar to Cadwell, so that's why we've tried to keep everything the same as we had at Cadwell. So seems to be working out quite well at the moment. I was P5 in the opening session, so not far from where we need to be. I think with all the rain we've had over the last few days here, maybe the track conditions are going to develop quite a bit. If the rain stays away, I think we'll get a bit more rubber down and the bike will actually perform even better with a bit more grip. So I've got quite a optimism at the moment of how this weekend might perform for us. So we've definitely been making some small improvements during the last few rounds, but haven't been big enough for people to really see probably from the outside or us to sort of shout about in the media. But I do feel like we've been making some marginal gains, and every weekend we keep trying. So yeah, this weekend fortunately the track's not so dissimilar to Cadwell. So to go from Cadwell to here and keep a lot of the settings on the bike that didn't need a lot of change, it meant the first Friday practice was a good session for us straight away, and it sort of carried on right on through right now to qualifying.
That sector like yellow, really.
What have we got here, Josh?
Get a picture for Tom. I went out on the used tyre to sort of get up to speed, and then come in to change for the new tyre and put a couple of laps together, and yeah, put in what was really quite a strong lap. Come around with, I think it was 9 seconds left in the session, so I could have done another lap, but I saw P1 on the board, and I thought if I've already done what I thought was a pretty clean lap, so it would have been very difficult to even match that lap and let alone go it quicker again. So I thought, as I was already the P1 position, it probably wasn't worth the risk to try again for another lap. So rolled around, but yeah, as you know in racing, Kyle was still out circulating, and he was able to go one ahead.
Am I lucky here?
Yes.
Last year and a few years before that, this is a great improvement. We've been working steadily throughout the last few rounds, making some small progress, but it probably wouldn't be noticed so much on the outside. But we've been
Just heat.
We've been, focused on, the small marginal gains that we can find, and Oulton Park is a stronger track for the bike, like Cadwell was. So, I contribute the hard work of the team is what put us up here close to the front. But I couldn't be more satisfied to be up here, honestly. Honestly, from where we've come from, the last year, 2 years, I feel like it's been forever since I've been here, been interviewed after qualifying. So I'm really pleased. Second place, starting off the front row is critical to where we can how we can fight in the race. So it's a really good job, and thank you everyone in the team. They're the ones that need the applause at this point.
Thank you, Josh.
Welcome to the FHO VIP Hospitality Riders Chat Show. Normally Pete and I do a bit of a chat with everyone, let you know how the weekend's been going. I'm getting it started, so Pete can come in a moment when he's ready. This weekend's been quite good for me. Often in rounds during this year, just by about Sunday afternoon, we've got the bike working pretty well, and we think if we'd have started Friday in this position, we'd have probably had a good weekend. But it just takes too long to play catch up and get the bike working. So it's been really good and refreshing to have that momentum right from the offset, and then carried that into qualifying. And at one point, I was the fastest in qualifying, ended up second overall. So that's a great result. That's the best result of the year easily. Yeah, it just puts us in a really good position going into the race this afternoon. From the front row, I can get away with the group and try and stay away from all the melee that happens around the sort of top 10 position. Everyone just cuts each other up, and it's actually a far harder race from about 6th place back than it is 5th place forward. But obviously, you've got to have a setup on the bike that you're comfortable with and be able to get the lap time in qualifying to actually put yourself in that position to get that luxury of being at the front. So I'm really, fingers crossed, hopefully the bike works as well throughout the race. Obviously, qualifying's 1 lap. We've done well to get that 1 lap speed improved for this weekend and in qualifying. But I do have some fear that during the race, if we're not able to maintain the lap time that's needed, I might drop back a bit, but I'll worry about that when that happens. I'll stay on the more positive side and think about getting a good start and trying to stay up front as long as possible and just work the bike as hard as I can for as long as I can. I had a good battle early in the race, or most of the race, following and chasing Glenn Irwin, sitting in second, trying to make a pass on Glenn with maybe 4 laps to go. Then Kyle Ride and Lee Jackson came past, and that was sort of the best I had that I could do. I ended up 4th. 4th would normally be, for most races that have won, like I have in the past, a real disappointment. But after the couple of years I've had, very, very few times I've been on the podium. Particularly difficult this year with the spec of the bike. This year we've lost our racing engine spec. We're down. We've dropped about 10 horsepower on our engine with a rule change for this year. So we already weren't winning last year, and then we've entered this year with 10 horsepower less. So it makes the job even harder to bridge back that deficit. And then on top of that, the compounding problem is the tyre rule. Everyone's on Pirelli, we all know that, but this year particularly, we've been restricted to just 1 tyre, the SC0, which is the slightly harder of the 2 options. And it doesn't particularly favour the BMW. It's not exactly clear as to why that is. I think potentially it's the good horsepower that the bike has makes it difficult to get the power to the ground with a harder tyre. We benefit from a softer tyre.
We've got 40 minutes, haven't we?
And then we follow each other.
I feel better and more competitive in the dry, as it turns out. Well, yeah, welcome to the FHO BMW hospitality. Hopefully your day's been going better than the weather is. Yeah, this is the part where Pete and I just chat about how the weekend's been going, give you a bit of inside info into how the bike works, how the track conditions are, and so on like that. So every round we're working harder and trying hard. So that's why a fourth yesterday actually was quite a good result. After early rounds of the year being outside the top 10, sometimes I've not even qualified directly into Q2. I've had to go through qualifying 1 to make it into Q2. It's not pleasant when you back down the order when you used to and have experience winning a championship, winning races regularly, setting lap records. It's hard. It's a bitter pill to swallow when you're still riding good. You still got that keen and a hunger to keep going. To be back up in the front of the race and fighting for the lead at times was a great thrill for me. Yeah, as I said, normally a fourth wouldn't be that good, but I was actually quite pleased with a fourth yesterday. So started today's race from the front row of the grid again, because the grid position is based on where your lap time is from each race. So you qualify for race 1 in the qualifying session, and then the lap time that you get from race 1 dictates where you are for race 2, and then the lap time from race 2 sets you up for where you'll be on the grid for race 3. I was off the front row of the grid today, but very disappointing. The performance that I was able to make and the way that the bike felt in the rain just wasn't anywhere near suitable for what we had to do in that race we just finished. I just dropped back slower and slower, and every time someone come past, I'd try and lock on and imitate what they're doing and try and match corner lean angle and acceleration speed. But every time I did, the bike would step sideways and almost have me off. So if it's not bad enough, you're in a bad position on the track in the race. It makes it far worse if you crash out of that position. So I chose to continue trying as hard as I could, but try not to step over that limit. And unfortunately, that just meant I dropped down and down and down further down the list. And like I said, every time I tried to go that little bit harder, the bike would just give me information to say no, stop. So yeah, unfortunately, it was a struggle, and horrible conditions to ride in anyway. But then even more disappointing when you can't get a decent result. The crew are there obviously looking over the data. We did have a wet race here at Oulton Park, wet session here last year in the first Oulton Park event. So it's quite a long time ago, but we're looking at trying to see if there's any information we can get from that wet weather session that we did, and see if it can improve some way to improve the bike for what we expect is going to be wet again this afternoon for the final race.
Come from 17th to 5th in 2 laps.
You're the quickest man on track.
Yeah. Oh, what's the point?
Grab some wet as well. Stands coming up. Start it up. Let's go. Here we go. Come on, we can do ours one.
He's passed.
One more lap.
He's
One
through.
more lap for a podium.
He's through that group. He's just passed about 4 people.
I need more laps, man. Top BM. jumping on. He said, fuck no. And then fucking go.
Yeah, well, I couldn't do it. You just went boom, like grip. As soon as I turned in, I was like, what?
Yeah, I could see it was weird. Like some people were really struggling with the tyre, and others were just like hooking up and going. I was like, just think of all the things that should have gone better and it could have been.
I don't even know where to start. What a series of drama. The weekend in general, from the beginning, has been really positive. First practice, bike felt great and was immediately up the front, which just made the whole weekend so much easier. Almost got pole, held onto the lead for quite some time in qualifying, but just got pipped at the end. But still great to start the first race from the front row. Even led the race, but the first race finished fourth, but good enough to start the second race on the front row again. But unfortunately, this morning woke up to rain, which I normally wouldn't go so bad in the rain, but somehow we managed to mess things up, and I just went backwards in the race too. It was wet, and then this afternoon's race 3 started quite far back on the grid because of the lap time from race 2, and made it up to second position, and then had a fall. Unfortunately, there's a variety of different tyre choices in the race because of the mixed conditions of the track. Yeah, but the race got red flagged. I was able to restart off the back of the grid, and I ended up 10th. So I don't even know if to be happy or sad about it. After crashing, I thought I was out, and then having been able to restart and then coming 10th. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what to say, but that's a wrap.